Hello, dance teachers, dancers, and lovers of all things dance. Miss Shauna back for another day of dance chatting, and today we're going to talk all about dance and cross training. Alrighty, welcome back. Today is a bit of a twofer because I want to talk about dance and cross training, and also where the twofer comes is using dance as a form of cross training for other sports. So I do have a kinesiology background. I was a gymnast before a dancer. I've done kickboxing, believe it or not, and I was actually not bad at it. And I also did professional cheerleading. There's a lot of stuff that I've been interested in my past, and I can always find a way to tie dance training back into other sports. I can also find reasons, not that you really need reasons, but why there's certain non-dance training that works for dancers. So let's talk about that a little bit today. So first of all, what is cross training, right? We hear that, I feel like sometimes that's thrown around like a buzzword. What is cross training? Well, I went to the good old dictionary, dictionary.com. I think that's what it was, whatever, online dictionary. And it basically told me, and it's not wrong, that's what it is, that cross training is engaging in two or more sports or exercises to improve performance in one's main sport. So, for example, you'll hear about athletes who in the off season will do certain things, right? So in winter, there'll be athletes who do summer sports that do cross-country skiing to kind of keep up their physicality. Whatever it is, there are things that you can do outside of your main sport or activity that will actually enhance what you do in your main sport. We're going to refer to dance as a sport in today's episode. But there are so many benefits to what we do when we cross-train. So some of them, and I wrote these down because I think they're just so valuable, because I think sometimes we think cross-training, especially like I found in the dance world when I talk to some people who are very like, no, dance is what you do. You don't need to do weights. You don't need to do all of these other things. You dance. It does your whole body. Except for it kind of doesn't. It trains the dancer body in a dancer way, right? So that's where you're going to find that you'll get a lot of repetitive overuse injuries, or muscles that are overdeveloped in one way. Like I think of the muscles you use to turn out. If you're only ever using those muscles to work on your turnout and not actually working on the opposite action, you can cause repetitive use injuries by overdeveloping that muscle in one way, right? So when you go into cross training and you do something that's outside of your norm of your training, you're going to get full body conditioning. It's going to take you from your always turned out stance to maybe a parallel or even a turned in stance. And it's going to take that muscle and it's going to help properly develop it, properly balance it. And you're going to get a whole full body workout from it. It's going to make you stronger. It's going to make your muscles overall healthier. You're going to find a decrease in overuse injuries, a lot of those repetitive overuse injuries, right? Dancers, we spend a lot of time up on our toes. My dancers hate when I make them pull their toe, like do a lot of flex foot stuff. We do a lot of up on our eleve and with a pointed foot. When we have to do those exercises where we're doing flex foot, it's like torture because we're imbalanced, right? We need to balance out that leg, right? You're going to find also when you start to cross train, you're going to get versatility in your movement, right? So if you're only ever doing training in one way, you're going to have one movement pattern, and that's it. The more you cross train, the more your body learns to move in different ways. Now, even and as a dancer, we're not really going to dive too much into this, but I'm just going to put it out there. If you're a ballerina or like a classical dancer, classically trained, if classical dance is your style, more of the technical styles are your thing, cross train with hip hop, cross train with tap. Go take a Zumba class, right? It's just going to give your body different movement patterns, right? And it's going to take you out of your norm. It also helps train your overall fitness, and it helps train the mind-body connection a little bit differently, which as dancers, I think that's really going to enhance your overall performance and your ability to pick up new moves, new skills, and new choreography. So should dancers cross-train? Yeah. Yeah, we should. Yes, we should. And listen, here's the thing. Let's put, the the cool kids always do like the myth versus fact. Myth versus fact. They say that weight training is to build big muscles for some people, but there is a way to do weight training that allows you to maintain your lean muscle mass while building strength and muscular endurance. So it's all about how you go about the exercise or the activity, right? So one is, if you are going to introduce cross training for your dancers, make sure that you're actually like doing it properly, that you're not just, looking at like what builds big muscles and giving them that, because that's not necessarily the goal. What is the goal of the cross training, right? So keep that in mind. Like do some research. I'm not making you a cross training plan today. We're just going to talk about some of the benefits and why we should do it. So for dancers, there are though a few things that I think of when I think like, how can dancers really cross train and get like good benefits? What are some activities they can do? And so I think of things like yoga. So yoga is really good at working on alignment, body alignment, elongating your muscles, helping you really find that center of balance, and building strength. But it also ties into the mindset and allows you to learn how to ground and calm yourself. So if you have anxious performers or kids who maybe just get a lot of stress in their training schedule, that is also a good way to make that mind-body connection and really work on their mindful practice at the same time. So yoga is a great one. Also Pilates. I was like last year years old. It was 1 year ago where I actually started to do Pilates, and it was such a beautiful experience for me, especially like with my dance background. But I never really gave it a ton of thought, but I really loved how it targeted a lot of the muscles in my body, and the exercises were like very, very targeted, and they really worked on things like your stability, your core stability, your alignment, your natural ease of movement. And the tie into that and how that would cross over to dance is huge, right? And so yeah, Pilates, excellent, highly recommend it. And another one, obviously, when you think of like cardio, you want cardio for your dancers, you want them to make it through those long dances. Running, but sometimes running is really hard on the body. And doing some swimming. Swimming isn't just great for cardio. It is great for muscular strength and endurance without impact, right? Because you've got the water to make it a little more gentle. So there's a few things you can do there for building cardio. And then I had mentioned it earlier with weights, right? So not necessarily weights to bulk up, but to build strength and to, just make sure that you are having that muscular endurance and that you are ready to do things like partner work or lifts or floor work, right? I have some dancers who, bless their souls, because I know their arms are strong, but they go, I have noodle arms, right? But in reality, if you truly do have those noodle arms where you haven't built up the muscular strength in them or the endurance in them, you get to 2 minutes and 15 seconds of your dance and you have a partner lift, you want to make sure that body is ready to lift your partner, right? You want to feel sturdy in that. Or if you're getting into a really intense floor work section, you want to make sure that you can really support yourself down there. And so a little bit of weight training can go a long way. Now, I've had dancers who have done other sports in conjunction with dance. So I've had like amazingly talented dancers, soloists, who also have been extremely successful in sports like volleyball or swimming, athletics, basketball. And what they learn in their sports outside of dance, I can see it coming into play in dance, and it enhances them. I've also had them come back to me and say, my volleyball coach loves how I can just get right under the ball. And I'm like, well, can you elaborate on that for me? Because I don't play volleyball. And she's like, yeah, it's just like a really big grand plie. And I was like, okay, that makes sense then. So your really big grand plie that you've learned in ballet class is now also helping you in volleyball. That's pretty cool, right? So there's kind of a crossover. So yes, dancers, cross training will enhance your performance if it's done the right way, right? With the right goal in mind. And dance teachers, if you're dancer says, oh, we had weights today in gym class. Don't panic. Don't panic. Trust that maybe it's going to help benefit them. And if anything, help guide your dancers in what weights will help them, right? What type of weight training, even if that's body weight training, what type of exercises will really help them. I don't think any of my dancers in every class as part of warm-up, and it's different all the time, they have to do conditioning, something for their arms, something for their legs, something for their core, and then something that will help further develop or enhance their agility and their stability. And we get to that point of warm-up and they're like, can we skip some today? I know it's not always the most fun, but when we start with, okay, we have to do, 8 full push-ups, and then a few weeks later they're at 12 and they're like, holy crow, like I didn't think I could get to 12. I mean, it's those baby steps, and then suddenly their arms are showing more strength in there across the floor, and getting onto their floor work, they feel more confident because they feel more confident in their body. It's a real thing. It really ties in, and it's very valuable. On the flip side, dance teachers, if you're ever looking for a way to expand dance out into the world, consider how dance can help athletes outside of dance. Soccer, football, hockey, boxing, dance, a little bit of training in dance. And I'm not saying that athletes in these sports need to become dancers, but training in these, like from athletes training in those sports, coming and doing a little bit of dance will help them develop a better sense of flexibility, a more intentional and purposeful movement pattern, so increasing their agility, their core stability, better body awareness, grace and flow of their movement. And this is going to enhance them in their other sport, right? If you've ever watched like boxing, right, they have to be like quick and light on their feet and agile. And so like if you have quote unquote 2 left feet, that's going to be tough. But if you can learn, I mean, everything in dance has a purpose, right? We always, we get to the bar starting first, right? And when you think of like a batma, you start basic batma, you're going to start here. If you're starting in 5th, okay, that's fine too. But you're here, you're still going to extend that foot through kind of a tendu before you lift it. You're going to lower it down, come back in through. It is very purposeful. Before you take off for anything, you have that, you have your step, right? You've got your momentum. It's not like we just run into a jeté. There is very specific body placement to make these things happen. I have actually worked with soccer players in the past where, one of the biggest injuries in soccer is ACLs. That was a long time ago. Maybe the status changed, but I don't think it would have. They do a lot of pivoting, right? Soccer has a lot of pivoting and back and forth. And in dance, we learn very much how to rotate from our hips, right? To prevent any rotating through our knees. If a soccer player can take a little bit of cross training with dance class and develop that muscle memory, when they get back onto the soccer pitch, they're not going to instinctually rotate from their knee, but they're going to rotate through their whole hip joint, preventing knee injuries, which is kind of a really cool thing, right? So dance teachers, we don't just necessarily need to look at ways for our dancers to learn how to cross train. Maybe it's time for us to get out in the world and find ways to help other athletes cross train with the beautiful sport and art of dance. I think it's something that everybody can benefit from. So cross training is valuable. I think it's super valuable. And once my teaching staff at my studio, once we really start to say, okay, as part of our training, we need to take body conditioning that's not always dance-based, but that we can see will elevate our dancers, and start adding that in. And we need to stop going, oh yeah, I have a dancer who's involved in all these other sports, and go, okay, how will these other sports that they're involved in at school amplify their dancing? And once we kind of shifted that perspective, we started to see so much growth, like in our teaching, in our dancers, and even just examples that we can use with ways that they know how to move their body, right? So it's pretty cool when you start to really embrace cross training and realize how valuable it is. And instead of restricting your dancers to only dance, and instead allowing them to look at all of the amazing ways that their bodies can move and that their bodies can build strength and become better movers, better athletes, better artists. All of those things kind of tie together. So, you know, I didn't always think this way. I will wrap up by, I should have started with that. I should have led with that. That I didn't always like when I had dancers who did other things, right? I was like, just dance, right? And as I've grown over the last few decades, I have really learned that there is so much value in that cross training, in having dancers who know how to move their bodies in multiple ways, who are strengthening their body in multiple ways and enhancing their performance through all of the activities they're a part of. So I guess I'm curious that I would like to know what everyone's favorite cross training like modality is. I teach yoga, so obviously I love yoga. I do not teach Pilates, and I never want to because I really just enjoy taking it. It was like my Pilates class that I started taking like a year ago. It was just, I got to go be a student and just really feel the progress, and that was so nice. And I actually like a year ago started doing weights, and it was just like really cool to like be like, I'm actually kind of strong. And these are all things that just, tied into everything else I was doing as a dance teacher. But what are your favorite ways to add cross training in for your dancers? What sports do you think could maybe benefit from learning a bit of dance, right? I've watched hockey players on the ice and I'm like, oh, if you just took some ballet, you'd have a little more stability in that moment. Maybe I'm a bit biased, but I would love to know, what is your favorite cross training and who do you think could benefit from cross training with dance? Because it's good for everybody. Right? It is good for everybody. So cross training, yes. Why not? Thumbs up to cross training. Anyways, that is all I have for you today on my rant about cross training, but I do think it's so valuable and I'd love to know your thoughts. Until next time, keep on dancing, keep on shining, and I will see you soon.